Rugby Routes is brought to you by Compede Melbourne Nomad Sevens. Visit the top link in the description for more information. Well, welcome back to Young Rugby and indeed another episode of Rugby Routes, a show in where we find where our favourite players found their love for the game. This episode, I am delighted to be joined by Exeter centre Ollie Devoto. Hello, Ollie. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Very well.
Sounds good. Well, I want to get right into things, and I want to know where your rugby journey began. Where are your rugby roots from?
Well, for me, rugby was always part of the family. My granddad played, and my dad, who has an identical twin, they both played. So I was sort of destined to be involved in some way. My earliest memory was my dad used to coach the local under-18s team, and I used to go in the child seat in the minibus. I'd be in the front of the minibus with the team in the back. So they were my earliest memories of rugby.
So when did things start getting serious for you? Talk me through your teenage years as a rugby player.
Yeah, so I actually joined when I was 6 or 7. I think the first year, I'm not sure if it's still the same, but it's under sevens is the first year you sort of get involved in tag rugby. So I actually joined when I was 5 or 6. So I was a couple of years younger than the lads. So that's where it started for me. And I ended up playing my youth rugby a year above. So it was quite good. When I used to go to school, because I was playing with the year above, they sort of looked after me a bit in the playground at school, which was quite good. So yeah, no, I played a year above at Sherbourne Rugby Club, which was a local rugby team, until I was 16, 17. And then I got a scholarship to Bryanston School, that is, or was at the time, a good rugby school that fed to Bath Rugby.
Mm. I mean, as you said there, things for you seem to go kind of up and up from Sherbourne. You also played some regional rugby, and then to be offered a sixth form scholarship at a great school, and then feed your way into the academy at Bath. How did you react to that success, and how easy is it at that age with those kinds of opportunities to kind of take your foot off the gas and relax a bit and think that you've kind of made it?
I think I was very fortunate to be given the scholarship to Bryanston School. There was quite a few of lads who are around my sort of age that have also done well. So when I was there, Charlie Yules, who's now playing for Bath Rugby, he was a year below me. Guys like Max Clark, who were also at Bath Rugby, Rory Jennings, who's now at Coventry. So there's quite a few guys, Tom Wollstonecroft as well at Saracen. So yeah, there was a few guys who were all lucky, and we all came up through the Bath Academy together. So I guess I was fortunate to be involved in that small group of players. As far as knowing you've made it, I think for me it came a bit late, because I was never much a lover of the gym. I still am not. I'd rather be out throwing the ball around than lifting big weights. So I had a lot of work to do in that area when I was 17, 18. I'd not really had a proper gym program as such. So that was a bit of a shock to me when I moved to Bath. Gym is very much part of the program, and is still part of my program down at Chiefs. So it's something that I had to sort of learn to like.
A stroke of injuries exposed you to the Bath first team squad in 2012-13, allowing you to make your first Prem appearance for Bath coming off the bench versus Wasps. How much do you remember of that day, and now 8 years ago?
I actually remember it quite well. You always remember your first game, and I was actually due to go on loan to Cornish Pirates. So I pretty much had my bags packed to go down to Cornwall for the rest of the season to be on loan. And yeah, like you said, a few injuries. I think Nick Benderen got injured, so I had my first game at the first game was at Fly Half, but I ended up playing fullback for the rest of the year. But yeah, I remember that game was at home at the Rec against Wasps, and I'm pretty sure I came on at 10, and Ollie Barkley went to 12. So it was quite special, because having been at school, you look up to those sort of guys, and
Mm.
Ollie Barkley was a guy I sort of wanted to be like. So to play with him was pretty special.
I want to take a brief pause and talk about positions. Now, I know, first of all, I want to know kind of what would you describe yourself as? Are you a centre, a utility back, or a centre that can play 10 or 15? And also, how important do you think it is for young players to have that versatility to their game, especially in the backs?
Well, I think that's a very good question. I think without that versatility, I wouldn't have got the game time at Bath. Um, I think because of the quality of the squad at the time, um, I'd played fly half throughout all my school years. So fly half was my position going into Bath, and then I can remember Gary Gold saying, why don't you give fullback a go? Because I was confident kicking wise, out of hand, and yeah, it was just sort of an opportunity for me to just get to know the game a bit better. And I think now, having played fly half, centre, fullback, you sort of know what you want from your teammates,
Yeah.
and you know how to be a better player yourself. So I think that's stood me in really good stead going forward. But I would say at Exeter, they very much see me as a centre. I've put on a bit of weight since I've been down here, so I don't think I could play fullback anytime soon.
So back to the story. Then in 2014, you burst through the LV Cup scene, really making a name for yourself and being made Breakthrough Player of the Year that year. As part of your reward, your local club Sherbourne received a £1,000 donation. How important do you think it is for grassroots and amateur rugby? How important is that type of rugby to the general rugby community nowadays?
Yeah, it's extremely important. I owe a lot to Sherbourne Rugby Club. Um, I've spent a lot of time up there as a youngster trying. I used to be for many years it was football on the Saturday, rugby on the Sunday, and then I sort of had to make that decision at 15, 16. What sport to really to go into. So yeah, I owe a lot to Sherbourne, and yeah, it was great to obviously win that award and get a bit of money back to them. And I still have, obviously have very fond memories, but I still try and, keep in touch. And I've actually, before, COVID came about, I was doing a little bit of coaching down there as well. So yeah, it's for me, it's great to get back. I've got a younger brother who still plays for the local club, which is good. Try and get back and watch him play as much as possible.
I want to take you now. I want to take you back now to a particular game, the Prem Rugby final for Bath in 2015 versus Saracens. You were named on the bench, but you were thrown into that game only a few minutes in to replace an injured Anthony Watson. For a player with good amount of Prem experience, this would have been a challenge. But for a 21-year-old who has just started making a name for himself in a Prem outfit, that must have been uh, quite an amazing and daunting experience. How scary actually, or how nervous were you to walk out onto that Twickenham grass? And would you mind kind of sort of describing that day and the emotions that came with it?
Yeah, sure. It happened so quick that actually you just, yeah, it was over, in a flash really. But actually when you start to, and actually I've done a bit of reflection during this time where we are at home for a long period of time, and you think, God, flipping heck, it was quite tough. I don't think I could have done that now. Playing at fullback against Saracens who do like to kick the ball up in the air a lot. But yeah, I can remember that quite well. Anthony Watson had a tackle from Owen Farrell, I think, and was knocked out. And yeah, I was thrown on the pitch with only 4 or 5 minutes played. So yeah, it was obviously amazing. The atmosphere was incredible, and it was my first taste of Twickenham. A packed Twickenham, 85,000+ people there. So it was a great day for me and my family. My family were there, and actually quite a few from the local rugby club turned up, which was quite special. Obviously, we didn't get the result, but for me, it was sort of testing myself, and and how it was important, for me how I sort of went. I don't think I made too many mistakes that day. So yeah, it was good for me to have that exposure on the big stage.
Now, moving on to your Chiefs days, which come with plenty of silverware wins and happy faces. Would you mind describing your recent years at Chiefs?
It's been it's been absolutely fantastic, if I'm honest. It was a really tough decision for me to leave Bath. It's a club that I've supported when I was younger. You come up through the academy thinking that you're going to play there for your whole career. But I think, looking back on that, for me, it was the right decision. I mean, I left a team that I was very comfortable being, a utility back and playing throughout the back line. But I wanted to test myself and sort of try and nail down a specific position. And for me, it's inside centre. So yeah, the opportunity came about, and I sort of grabbed it. And there's always an element of risk, whenever you move club, or it happens with everything, I suppose. There is an element of risk to go outside the norm, but it was something that sort of paid off, and we won the Premiership the first year that I came down. So I've still been telling all the players that it was me. I was the difference to winning that year.
Now, I want to focus on your international career. Throughout playing in the Prem, you'd come through the age grade England under 19s and then under 20s. I do want to get your take on the 2013 World Championship win to beat Wales, but to also etch your name in England rugby history books, putting 109 points behind USA in the run up to the title. What was that tournament like?
It was good. I still have very good friends from that time. Even guys who aren't at their original clubs that they were, when we were all together. So yeah, that it was a great time. I mean, I think the years previous, England hadn't done so well. So I don't know if you know this, but it goes on. If you win the competition or you come in the top 3 or 4, you get the best hotels. You get looked after the next year. So I think we didn't do so well the year before, and our hotel was very basic, I remember. And there's limited Wi-Fi. Quite a few of the lads were complaining that you couldn't get on the Instagram and the Facebook and stuff. But no, I can remember it being very, very basic, and the food was quite basic. And I think that helped us in a way, because we were so focused on the games, that we were playing. We weren't focused on what we were going out to eat or whatever. And yeah, I can just remember it being very basic, and that we were there to do a job, and that was to win the World Cup.
You then started to pop your head round the international door. And whilst playing at Bath, you had a couple of games. A game England versus the Barbarians, and then a few matches for the Saxons. And then you finally made your debut, Six Nations, against the team that you beat in the under-20 finals, Wales. What was that day like?
Yeah, very special. I think I'd been waiting for a bit. I've been involved in a few of the squads beforehand, the wider squads, the 45-man squads, and I sort of got a taste of what it was like to be an international rugby player. And then I had a couple of games in the Six Nations actually the year before that I was named on the bench but didn't get on. And as much as you're so excited to be part of the whole event, and I can remember going to Murrayfield and they had the bagpipes playing, and it was amazing. There is that sense of disappointment when you don't get on, because even if it's for 5 or 6 minutes, just to get on and say you were part of that day is pretty special. So I had a couple of those games, and I had to sort of bide my time. And then, yeah, I think it was only 6 or 7 minutes in that game at Twickenham, but yeah, it was. I just remember after the game when you see your family and you all go upstairs to the after match function, and that was that's a memory that I'll keep for a long time.
And finally, Ollie, any advice that you've got for any young rugby players watching who want to push on for a good professional career?
I think for me, I never really touched on it earlier. I never really thought I'd made it, until I was sort of then playing for Bath. So a lot of youngsters will develop in different ages. So for example, a prop might sort of mature at about 26, 27, and then start playing the best rugby he's ever played. So I wouldn't lose hope in that sense. And everyone's different. Everyone grows at different rates. For me, I didn't make the England under 16s, didn't make the England under 17s. I only made the under 18s wider squad, and then I played England under 20s because I was playing for Bath at the time. So I was never one of these child prodigies that that came up through and was always destined to go to big things. So I think my biggest advice would be, if you're not making these squads at 15, 16, don't worry. Just keep practicing, and opportunities will arise later.
Well, Ollie, it's been great to catch up with you and hear about your rugby roots. Thank you so much for coming on.
No worries at all. Thanks.
Thanks again to Compede Melbourne Nomad Sevens for sponsoring this video. Make sure you check out those socials which are on screen right now. And thank you to you for watching. Make sure you check out @YoungRugby on Instagram for everything Young Rugby, and we'll hope to catch you soon. Bye bye.